Episode 120. Well, no, he said quietly. There wasn't time for him to say anything. Um, so, do you do you get to see a lot of Quidditch in the holidays? You support the Tornadoes, right? His voice sounded falsely bright and cheery. To his horror, he saw that her eyes were swimming with tears again, just as they had been after the last DA meeting before Christmas. Look, he said desperately, leaning in so that nobody else could overhear. Let's not talk about Cedric right now. Let's talk about something else. But this, apparently, was quite the wrong thing to say. I thought, she said, tears spattering down onto the table. I thought you'd understand. I need to talk about it. Surely you need to talk about it too. I mean, you saw it happen, didn't you? Everything was going nightmarishly wrong. Roger Davy's girlfriend had even unglued herself to look around at Cho, crying. Well, I have talked about it, Harry said in a whisper to Ron and Hermione, but Oh, you'll talk to Hermione Granger, she said shrilly, her face now shining with tears, and several more kissing couples broke apart to stare. But you won't talk to me. Perhaps it would be best if we just paid and you went and met up with Hermione Granger like you obviously want to. Harry stared at her, utterly bewildered, as she seized a frilly napkin and dabbed her shining face with it. Joe, he said weakly, wishing Roger would seize his girlfriend and start kissing her again to stop her goggling at him and Joe. Go on, leave, she said, now crying into the napkin. I don't know why you asked me out in the first place if you're going to make arrangements to meet other girls right after me. How many are you meeting after Hermione? It's not like that, said Harry, and he was so relieved at finally understanding what she was annoyed about that he laughed, which he realized a split second too late was a mistake. Cho sprang to her feet. The whole tea room was quiet, and everybody was watching them now. I'll see you around, Harry, she said dramatically, and hiccuping slightly, she dashed to the door, wrenched it open, and hurried off into the pouring rain. Cho! Harry called after her, but the door had already swung shut behind her with a tuneful tinkle. There was total silence within the tea shop. Every eye was upon Harry. He threw a galleon down onto the table, shook pink confetti out of his eyes, and followed Cho out of the door. It was raining hard now, and she was nowhere to be seen. He simply did not understand what had happened. Half an hour ago they'd been getting along fine. Women, he muttered angrily, sloshing down the rain-washed street with his hands in his pockets. What did she want to talk about Cedric for anyway? Why does she always want to drag up a subject that makes her act like a human hosepipe? He turned right and broke into a splashy run, and within minutes he was turning into the doorway of the Three Broomsticks. He knew he was too early to meet Hermione, but he thought it likely there would be someone in here with whom he could spend the intervening time. He shook his wet hair out of his eyes and looked around. Hagrid was sitting alone in a corner, looking morose. Hi, Hagrid, he said, when he had squeezed through the crammed tables and pulled up a chair beside him. Hagrid jumped and looked down at Harry as though he barely recognized him. Harry saw that he had 2 fresh cuts on his face and several new bruises. Oh, it's you, Harry, said Hagrid. You all right? Yeah, I'm fine, lied Harry. In fact, next to this battered and mournful-looking Hagrid, he felt he did not have much to complain about. Are you okay? Me? Said Hagrid.
Oh, yeah, I'm grand, Harry. Grand.
He gazed into the depths of his pewter tankard, which was the size of a large bucket, and sighed. Harry did not know what to say to him. They sat side by side in silence for a moment. Then Hagrid said abruptly,
In the same boat, you and me, aren't we, Harry?
Said Harry.
Yeah, I've said it before. Both outsiders, like, said Hagrid,
Nodding wisely.
And both orphans. Yeah, both orphans.
He took a great swig from his tankard.
Makes a difference having a decent family, he said. Me dad was decent, and your mum and dad were decent. If they'd lived, life would have been different, eh?
Yeah, I suppose, said Harry, cautiously. Hagrid seemed to be in a very strange mood.
Family,
said Hagrid gloomily.
Whatever you say, blood's important.
And he wiped a trickle of it out of his eye. Hagrid, said Harry, unable to stop himself, where are you getting all these injuries?
Eh? Said Hagrid, looking startled. What injuries?
All those, said Harry, pointing at Hagrid's face.
Oh, that's just normal bumps and bruises, Harry, said Hagrid dismissively. I got a rough job.
He drained his tankard, set it back upon the table, and got to his feet.
I'll be seeing you, Harry. Take care now.
And he lumbered out of the pub, looking wretched, and then disappeared into the torrential rain. Harry watched him go, feeling miserable. Hagrid was unhappy, and he was hiding something, but he seemed determined not to accept help. What was going on? But before Harry could think about the matter any further, he heard a voice calling his name.
Harry! Harry, over here!
Hermione was waving at him from the other side of the room. He got up and made his way toward her through the crowded pub. He was still a few tables away when he realized that Hermione was not alone. She was sitting at a table with the unlikeliest pair of drinking mates he could ever have imagined. Luna Lovegood and none other than Rita Skeeter, ex-journalist on the Daily Prophet and one of Hermione's least favorite people in the world.
You're early, said Hermione, moving along to give him room to sit down. I thought you were with Joe. I wasn't expecting you for another hour at least.
Joe, said Rita at once, twisting around in her seat to stare avidly at Harry.
A girl?
She snatched up her crocodile-skin handbag and groped within it.
It's none of your business if Harry's been with 100 girls,
Hermione told Rita coolly.
So you can put that away right now.
Rita had been on the point of withdrawing an acid green quill from her bag. Looking as though she had been forced to swallow stink sap, she snapped her bag shut again. What are you up to? Harry asked, sitting down and staring from Rita to Luna to Hermione.
Little Miss Perfect was just about to tell me when you arrived, said Rita,
taking a large slurp of her drink.
I suppose I'm allowed to talk to him, am I?
She shot at Hermione.
Yes, I suppose you are,
said Hermione coldly. Unemployment did not suit Rita. The hair that had once been set in elaborate curls now hung lank and unkempt around her face. The scarlet paint on her 2-inch talons was chipped, and there were a couple of false jewels missing from her winged glasses. She took another great gulp of her drink and said out of the corner of her mouth,
Pretty girl, is she, Harry? One more word about Harry's love life and the deal's off, and that's a promise, said Hermione irritably. What deal? Said Rita, wiping her mouth on the back of her hand. You haven't mentioned a deal yet, Miss Prissy. You just told me to turn up. Oh, one of these days. She took a deep, shuddering breath. Yes, yes. One of these days you'll write more horrible stories about Harry and me, said Hermione indifferently. Find someone who cares, why don't you?